For as long as humans could remember, they had looked up at the stars with a mix of wonder and curiosity. Every night, when the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness blanketed the earth, people would gaze upward, dreaming about what might be out there. Were there other worlds like theirs? Did alien beings exist, watching them from afar? These questions lingered in the minds of scientists, philosophers, and ordinary people alike. Humanity's imagination ran wild with possibilities, but no one truly expected that their dreams or fears would ever become reality. Emma Carter was one such dreamer. A young astrophysicist working at a small observatory nestled in the quiet hills of Montana, she spent most of her days studying distant galaxies and mapping celestial phenomena. Her colleagues often joked that Emma lived more among the stars than on Earth. She loved her work, though. To her, every speck of light in the vast universe held a story waiting to be uncovered. But lately, something strange had caught her attention. A faint shimmer in the night sky, almost invisible to the naked eye. At first, Emma thought it was nothing more than a glitch in her equipment. Observatories relied heavily on sensitive instruments, and technical errors were common. Still, this particular anomaly persisted. Night after night, she noticed the same shimmering effect, growing slightly brighter each time. It wasn't random either. The shimmer seemed to follow a pattern, pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. Intrigued, Emma decided to dig deeper. She cross-referenced her findings with data collected by other observatories around the world. What she discovered sent chills down her spine. Scientists in Europe, Asia, and South America were reporting similar observations. At first, everyone assumed it was some kind of cosmic event, a rare alignment of planets or perhaps an unusual solar flare. But as the phenomenon intensified, doubts began to creep in. The shimmer didn't behave like any natural occurrence they had ever seen. Something unnatural was happening, and no one knew what it meant. News of the mysterious activity quickly reached government agencies. High-level meetings were held in secret, with leaders frantically trying to piece together what was going on. Was this a sign of extraterrestrial life? Or was it something far worse? Speculation ran rampant, but without concrete evidence. All anyone could do was wait and prepare for the worst. Meanwhile, deep in the cold void of space, fleets of alien ships loomed ominously near Earth's orbit. Their sleek metallic hulls glinted under the light of distant stars as they moved silently toward their target. These beings had been observing humanity for centuries, studying their behavior and assessing their capabilities. From their perspective, humans were little more than primitive creatures, divided by borders, plagued by conflict, and obsessed with trivial matters. They saw Earth not as a thriving civilization, but as a chaotic mess ripe for conquest. The aliens' technology was far beyond anything humanity could comprehend. Their ships were powered by energy sources unknown to human science, capable of traveling faster than light itself. Weapon systems on board their vessels could obliterate entire cities in seconds. And yet, despite their overwhelming superiority, the invaders hesitated. They weren't afraid of humanity's weapons or military strength. They were wary of something else entirely: unpredictability. Humans were unlike any species the aliens had encountered before. While most civilizations evolved along predictable lines, developing technologies and societies in orderly ways, humans defied logic. They waged wars over ideologies, created art for reasons no one fully understood, and constantly pushed boundaries, driven by ambition and curiosity. This unpredictability made them dangerous, not because of their power, but because of their potential. As the alien fleet approached Earth, their commanders exchanged silent communications through neural links. They agreed that humanity posed no immediate threat. The planet's defenses were laughably weak compared to their own, and internal divisions among humans ensured they would never unite against a common enemy. With smug confidence, the aliens prepared to make their move. Back on Earth, ordinary people went about their lives oblivious to the danger looming above them. In bustling cities, commuters rushed to work, students attended classes, and families gathered for meals. In rural areas, farmers tended to their crops, fishermen cast their nets into rivers and oceans, and children played outside under the warm afternoon sun. Life continued as it always had, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in the heavens. But not everyone was ignorant of the impending crisis. Emma, still poring over her data, couldn't shake the feeling that something catastrophic was about to happen. She tried to warn others, presenting her findings to senior scientists and even reaching out to government officials. However, her warnings fell on deaf ears. Without definitive proof, no one took her seriously. Frustrated but determined, Emma resolved to keep digging, convinced that answers lay just beyond her reach. Then, one fateful evening, everything changed. As Emma adjusted her telescope to get a closer look at the shimmering anomaly, she noticed something new, a massive shadow moving across the sky. It wasn't a cloud or an asteroid, it was too large, too deliberate. Her heart raced as she zoomed in, capturing images of the object. What she saw left her breathless. Dozens, no, hundreds of enormous ships hovered just beyond Earth's atmosphere, their shapes dark and menacing against the backdrop of stars. Before Emma could process what she was seeing, the sky erupted in a deafening roar. The air vibrated with a force so powerful it rattled windows and sent birds scattering in panic. People everywhere stopped what they were doing, staring upward in shock and awe. Above them, the heavens seemed to split open, revealing a sight that would haunt humanity forever, an armada of alien star destroyers descending upon Earth. For a moment, time stood still. The sheer scale of the invasion was incomprehensible. Each ship dwarfed skyscrapers, their surfaces gleaming with an otherworldly glow. Beams of light shot down from their undersides, scanning the surface of the planet like probing fingers. Then came the voice, a deep, resonant tone that echoed across continents, speaking in multiple languages simultaneously. "You are inferior," the voice declared, its words dripping with disdain. "Your technology is laughable. Your resistance will be futile. Surrender now, or face annihilation." Fear gripped the hearts of billions. Some collapsed to their knees, praying for salvation. Others screamed in terror, running aimlessly through streets now bathed in eerie alien light. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing emergency alerts and mobilizing whatever forces they could muster. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Humanity was outmatched, yet amidst the chaos a spark of defiance ignited. In hidden bunkers and underground labs, brilliant minds worked tirelessly to devise a plan. Among them was Alex Ramirez, a retired fighter pilot turned drone engineer. He had spent years developing cutting-edge autonomous drones designed for reconnaissance missions. Now, those same drones might hold the key to humanity's survival. Alex knew conventional weapons wouldn't stand a chance against the invaders. Their shields were impenetrable, their firepower unmatched. But he also knew that humans had something the aliens lacked: ingenuity. If they couldn't fight brute force with brute force, maybe they could outsmart their enemies instead. Gathering his team, Alex proposed a daring strategy: deploying swarms of EMP, electromagnetic pulse-equipped drones to disable the aliens' advanced technology. While preparations unfolded behind closed doors, Emma remained glued to her telescope, documenting every detail of the invasion. She refused to give in to despair, clinging to the hope that humanity's resilience would see them through. Little did she know, her discoveries were only beginning. The true test of humanity's strength, and the reason why humans should never be provoked, was yet to come. And so, as the skies darkened and the invaders tightened their grip on Earth, the stage was set for a battle unlike any the universe had ever witnessed. The aliens believed they had already won, dismissing humanity as insignificant and powerless. But they underestimated one crucial factor: the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to go quietly into the night. The moment the alien armada revealed itself, humanity's collective breath hitched. It was as if the entire world had been plunged into a nightmare from which there was no waking up. The sheer size of the star destroyers was enough to make even the bravest hearts tremble. Each ship stretched miles across the sky, their metallic surfaces reflecting the faint glow of Earth's atmosphere like mirrors of doom. They moved with a grace that defied logic, gliding effortlessly despite their monstrous proportions. Beams of light shot out from their undersides, scanning cities, forests, and oceans as if cataloging everything they encountered. For the first few minutes, no one knew how to react. People stood frozen in place, staring upward in stunned silence. Parents clutched their children tightly, shielding them not just from danger, but also from the terrifying sight above. In bustling metropolises like New York, Tokyo, and London, traffic came to a standstill as drivers abandoned their cars and fled into buildings for cover. Streets filled with panicked crowds, some screaming, others crying, and many simply standing in shock. The voice that boomed through the air, cold, mechanical, and devoid of emotion, only added to the terror. "You are inferior," it repeated, its tone unyielding. "Resistance is futile." But humanity wasn't known for giving up easily. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, defiance began to stir. Social media erupted with videos of people refusing to cower. A young man in Rio de Janeiro climbed onto the roof of his apartment building, holding a homemade sign that read, "We will fight." His act of rebellion went viral within minutes, inspiring others to follow suit. Across the globe, civilians started organizing themselves into makeshift militias, arming themselves with whatever they could find. Baseball bats, kitchen knives, even fireworks repurposed as crude explosives. Though these efforts might have seemed laughable against alien war machines, they symbolize something far greater: humanity's refusal to surrender without a fight. Meanwhile, governments scrambled to mount a coordinated response. Emergency. Meetings were held in secret bunkers buried deep underground, shielded from potential attacks. Military leaders pored over maps and diagrams, trying to devise strategies to counter the invaders. But the reality was grim. Humanity's most advanced weapons, missiles, fighter jets, and nuclear arsenals, were woefully inadequate against the aliens' superior technology. Their ships were protected by energy shields that made conventional attacks useless. Every attempt to strike back ended in failure, leaving Earth's defenders feeling helpless and demoralized. It was during one of these desperate planning sessions that Alex Ramirez stepped forward. A retired fighter pilot turned drone engineer, Alex had spent years developing autonomous drones for reconnaissance missions. His designs were cutting-edge, capable of operating independently or in swarms, adapting to changing environments in real time. Initially dismissed as impractical for combat scenarios, his drones now represented humanity's best, and perhaps only, hope. Alex stood at the head of the table, addressing a room full of skeptical generals and scientists. "We can't win this war with brute force," he said firmly, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "Our weapons are outdated and our resources are limited, but we have something the aliens don't expect: ingenuity. If we focus on disabling their technology instead of attacking directly, we might stand a chance." He explained his plan, deploying thousands of drones equipped with EMP, electromagnetic pulse charges. These devices wouldn't cause physical damage but would instead disrupt electronic systems, rendering the aliens' advanced tech temporarily useless. The idea was risky, relying heavily on precision and timing. If executed poorly, the drones could be destroyed before reaching their targets. But with no other viable options on the table, the decision-makers reluctantly agreed to give it a try. As preparations got underway, Emma Carter continued her work at the observatory. Her role may not have been as flashy as Alex's, but it was equally crucial. Using her telescopes and analytical tools, she monitored the alien fleet's movements, tracking patterns and identifying vulnerabilities. She noticed that while the invaders appeared invincible, their behavior hinted at arrogance. They moved with a confidence that suggested they believed victory was already theirs. This complacency gave Emma an idea. What if humanity could exploit their overconfidence? She shared her observations with Alex and his team, proposing a two-pronged approach. While the drones attacked from below, misinformation campaigns could sow doubt among the aliens. By hacking into their communication channels and broadcasting false data, humanity might create confusion and weaken their resolve. It was a long shot, but it offered a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak scenario. Back in orbit, the alien commanders watched the chaos unfolding on Earth with detached amusement. To them, humanity's feeble attempts at resistance were little more than entertainment. They had seen countless civilizations crumble under similar circumstances, and they saw no reason why Earth would be any different. Their ships hovered menacing, followed orders issued telepathically between their hive mind network. Their leader, referred to as the Overseer, communicated silently with his subordinates. "This species is predictable," he transmitted, his thoughts laced with disdain. "They rely on emotion rather than logic. Once their initial panic subsides, they will turn on each other. We need only wait." What the Overseer failed to recognize, however, was that humanity's unpredictability was both its greatest flaw and its greatest strength. Unlike the orderly, calculated societies the aliens had conquered in the past, humans were chaotic, adaptive, and driven by a primal instinct to survive. When cornered, they didn't falter. They fought back with everything they had. As days passed, the invasion intensified. Alien ground forces descended upon major cities, deploying massive war machines that towered over skyscrapers. These mechanical behemoths crushed buildings with ease, scattering debris and sending shockwaves rippling through the streets. Civilians ran for their lives, seeking shelter wherever they could find it. Yet even in the face of such devastation, acts of courage emerged. In Chicago, a group of firefighters risked their lives to rescue trapped survivors from a collapsed high-rise. In Mumbai, a teenager used social media to coordinate relief efforts, ensuring food and supplies reached those in need. Stories like these spread rapidly, fueling a sense of unity among the scattered remnants of humanity. At the same time, Alex's drone army took shape. Thousands of tiny machines were assembled in hidden facilities around the world, each programmed with precise instructions. Equipped with EMP charges and advanced navigation systems, they were designed to swarm enemy vessels, targeting critical components like propulsion units and weapon systems. Testing phases showed promising results, but everyone knew the real challenge lay ahead. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Under the cover of darkness, Alex's drones launched en masse, rising silently into the sky like a cloud of locusts. From control rooms buried deep underground, operators monitored their progress, holding their breath as the swarm approached the alien fleet. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the plan might fail. The drones were detected almost immediately, and defensive turrets opened fire, tearing through dozens of them. But the sheer number of drones overwhelmed the aliens' defenses. Like a tidal wave crashing against a fortress, the swarm surged forward, breaching the outer layers of the enemy ships. Then it happened. One by one, sections of the alien fleet began to falter. Shields flickered and died, engines sputtered, and weapon systems went offline. The once unstoppable invaders found themselves paralyzed, their technological superiority rendered useless by humanity's ingenuity. Panic spread through their ranks, visible even from Earth's surface as lights aboard their ships dimmed and erratic movements signaled disarray. For the first time since the invasion began, hope returned to humanity. News of the successful drone attack spread quickly, reigniting determination among Earth's defenders. Militias regrouped, armed with renewed confidence. Scientists worked tirelessly to improve upon Alex's design, creating newer, more efficient versions of the EMP drones. Governments collaborated openly, sharing resources and strategies in ways previously thought impossible. Humanity was uniting, not because of shared ideals or treaties, but because survival demanded it. In orbit, the aliens struggled to regain control. The Overseer issued frantic commands, attempting to rally his forces. But cracks had already formed in their command structure. Doubts crept in, fueled by whispers of uncertainty among the lower ranks. Could these primitive beings really pose a threat? Had they underestimated their prey? Unbeknownst to the invaders, Emma's misinformation campaign was beginning to take effect. Hacked transmissions flooded their networks, planting seeds of doubt about Earth's viability as a target. False reports claimed that centuries of industrial pollution had rendered the planet toxic, warning of deadly diseases and environmental hazards that would doom any species attempting to settle here. Though skeptical at first, some alien officers began questioning whether conquering Earth was worth the cost. By the time the dust settled, the balance of power had shifted. Humanity's resilience had proven itself, turning what should have been an easy conquest into a costly stalemate. The victory brought by Alex's drone swarm was short-lived but significant. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had struck a blow that shook the invaders to their core. Alien ships floated aimlessly in orbit, their systems crippled by EMP charges, while others retreated into deeper space to regroup. The sight of these once dominant vessels rendered powerless gave Earth's defenders a much-needed morale boost. People around the world celebrated the small triumph, sharing videos of disabled alien ships and cheering for the ingenuity that had made it possible. Yet deep down, everyone knew the war was far from over. The aliens' initial arrogance had been replaced by caution, but they were far from defeated. Their technological superiority still dwarfed anything humanity could muster, and their sheer numbers ensured they wouldn't give up easily. Within days, reinforcements arrived, more ships, larger and more menacing than before. These new arrivals carried weapons capable of obliterating entire cities with a single blast. They also deployed ground forces equipped with advanced exosuits, towering mechanical constructs designed to crush resistance on a massive scale. Cities across the globe became battlegrounds as these war machines descended. In Tokyo, one such machine stomped through the streets, its metallic limbs smashing buildings like toys. Civilians fled in terror, leaving behind a trail of destruction that stretched for miles. Similar scenes played out in Paris, Moscow, and Sydney. Each step taken by the invaders left scars on the planet, but humanity refused to surrender. Instead, people adapted, using whatever tools they had at their disposal to fight back. In New York City, a group of engineers transformed abandoned subway tunnels into makeshift bunkers. Using scavenged materials, they created crude but effective traps, designed to disable the alien walkers. When one of the machines lumbered into a designated trap zone, explosives hidden beneath the pavement detonated, sending shards of concrete flying. Though the attack didn't destroy the walker completely, it damaged its legs enough to slow it down. This bought precious time for civilians to escape and allowed fighters to launch follow-up strikes. Meanwhile, Alex Ramirez and his team worked tirelessly to improve their drone designs. The initial swarm had proven successful, but it hadn't been enough to turn the tide decisively. Now, Alex focused on creating drones with enhanced capabilities, ones that could penetrate even stronger shields and target multiple systems simultaneously. He collaborated with Emma Carter, whose observations of alien behavior provided critical insights. Together, they identified weak points in the invaders' defenses, allowing them to refine their strategy. Emma's role extended beyond just analyzing data. She became a key figure in coordinating global efforts, acting as a bridge between scientists, military leaders, and civilian resistance groups. Her calm demeanor and sharp intellect earned her respect from all sides, making her an unofficial leader in humanity's fight for survival. Late nights spent poring over star charts and intercepted signals paid off when she discovered something crucial. The aliens communicated wirelessly through a network vulnerable to interference. This revelation sparked another bold idea. If humanity could disrupt the invaders' communication channels, they might be able to sever the connection between their ships and ground forces. Without coordination, the aliens would lose their ability to execute complex maneuvers, giving Earth's defenders a significant advantage. Armed with this knowledge, Alex modified his drones to include jamming devices capable of scrambling alien frequencies. It was a risky move. The jammers required immense power, meaning fewer drones could be deployed at once. But the potential payoff made it worth trying. As preparations continued, ordinary citizens found ways to contribute to the war effort. Hackers formed online networks to infiltrate alien systems, planting viruses and spreading misinformation. Artists painted murals on bombed-out walls, depicting scenes of defiance and resilience to inspire those still fighting. Farmers converted their fields into supply hubs, growing food to feed displaced populations. Even children joined in, crafting decoys out of scrap metal to distract enemy patrols. Every act, no matter how small, added up to a collective resistance that spanned continents. Back in orbit, the aliens struggled to regain their footing. The overseer, frustrated by the setbacks, called an emergency council aboard his flagship. His subordinates exchanged nervous glances, aware that failure would not be tolerated. "These humans are resourceful," admitted one officer, his telepathic voice tinged with unease. "They adapt faster than any species we've encountered." "They are still primitive," the overseer snapped, his thoughts laced with anger. "Their victories are temporary. We must retaliate with overwhelming force." And so the invaders launched a devastating counteroffensive. Massive beams of energy rained down from their ships, obliterating entire neighborhoods in seconds. Ground forces advanced relentlessly, pushing deeper into human territory. Resistance fighters fought valiantly, but the sheer scale of the assault overwhelmed them. Cities fell one after another, leaving millions homeless and countless lives lost. It seemed as though humanity's fragile unity might fracture under the pressure. But amidst the devastation, acts of heroism shone brightly. In London, a young woman named Priya led a daring raid on an alien supply depot. Using stolen tech and improvised explosives, her team managed to destroy several crates of ammunition destined for enemy troops. Though many members of her squad perished during the mission, their sacrifice inspired others to take similar risks. In South Africa, a farmer named Kwame used his knowledge of the land to ambush alien patrols. By setting fires and creating false trails, he lured the invaders into ambush zones where guerrilla fighters waited in hiding. These stories spread quickly, thanks to social media platforms that remained operational despite the chaos. Videos of brave individuals standing up to the invaders went viral, reminding people everywhere that hope was not lost. Even in the darkest moments, humanity's spirit burned brightly, fueled by courage and determination. Alex's upgraded drones were ready just in time for the next major confrontation. Thousands of them lifted off simultaneously, swarming toward the alien fleet like angry bees. This time, the drones carried both EMP charges and jamming devices, ensuring maximum disruption. As they approached, alien turrets opened fire, cutting down hundreds of drones in seconds. But the sheer number of attackers overwhelmed the defenses once again. Swarms breached the outer layers of the ships, targeting critical systems with pinpoint accuracy. Inside the alien vessels, chaos erupted. Lights flickered, communication links failed, and weapon systems shut down entirely. Pilots scrambled to regain control, but without proper coordination, their movements became erratic. Some ships collided with each other, exploding in brilliant bursts of light. Others drifted helplessly, easy targets for follow-up attacks. On the ground, alien forces found themselves cut off from their commanders, unable to receive orders or request reinforcements. Confusion spread rapidly, turning their previously disciplined ranks into disorganized mobs. For the first time, the invaders experienced fear. Their confidence shattered, replaced by uncertainty and doubt. What had started as a routine conquest had spiraled into a nightmare. The humans they had dismissed as weak and divided had proven themselves to be cunning, adaptable, and relentless. Each setback only strengthened Earth's resolve, fueling a cycle of innovation and adaptation that the aliens couldn't match. By the end of the battle, the alien fleet had suffered heavy losses. Dozens of ships were destroyed, and countless ground units lay immobilized. Though they still held numerical superiority, their momentum had been broken. For the first time, the invaders hesitated, unsure of what to do next. On Earth, celebrations broke out once again. News outlets broadcast images of disabled alien ships and retreating ground forces, accompanied by messages of gratitude for the heroes who had made it possible. Leaders praised Alex, Emma, and countless others who had contributed to the victory. Yet, amid the jubilation, there was also sober reflection. Everyone understood that the war was far from over. The aliens would regroup, and when they returned, they would come with even greater fury. Emma stood outside her observatory, gazing up at the night sky. Despite everything that had happened, she felt a sense of pride. Humanity had faced unimaginable odds and emerged victorious, not because of superior technology or brute strength, but because of its creativity, resilience, and unwillingness to give up. Somewhere out there, the aliens were learning a valuable lesson. Underestimating humanity was a mistake they would regret. As she turned to head back inside, Emma whispered softly to herself, "This is why you don't provoke us." The victory achieved by Alex's upgraded drones and Emma's strategic insights provided humanity with a much-needed reprieve. Alien forces, once arrogant and unstoppable, now found themselves on the defensive. Their ships drifted aimlessly in orbit, their ground units scattered and disorganized. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's defenders had gained the upper hand. Yet despite the celebrations and renewed hope, questions lingered in the minds of leaders and scientists alike. Why had the aliens come to Earth? What drove them to risk so much for this planet? And most importantly, how could humanity use this knowledge to end the war once and for all? Emma Carter, ever the analytical thinker, refused to let her guard down. While others celebrated, she buried herself in her work at the observatory. Her telescope scanned the skies relentlessly, capturing every detail of the alien fleet's movements. She cross-referenced intercepted signals with data collected from previous encounters, searching for patterns or clues that might reveal the invaders' true intentions. Late one night, as rain pelted against the observatory windows, Emma made a breakthrough. Hidden within a string of encrypted transmissions was a fragment of information, a reference to the aliens' homeworld. At first glance, it seemed insignificant, but when Emma dug deeper, she uncovered something astonishing. The aliens' home planet was dying. Centuries of environmental degradation had rendered it uninhabitable, forcing its inhabitants to search for new worlds to colonize. Earth hadn't been chosen because it was weak. It had been targeted because of its abundant resources and livable conditions. To the aliens, humanity wasn't just an obstacle. It was a nuisance standing between them and survival. The revelation sent chills down Emma's spine. These beings weren't conquerors driven by greed or malice. They were desperate refugees willing to do whatever it took to secure a future for their species. But desperation bred ruthlessness, and Emma knew that understanding their motives wouldn't make them any less dangerous. If anything, it meant they would fight harder, sacrificing everything to claim Earth as their own. Determined to share her findings, Emma contacted Alex Ramirez and other key figures in the resistance. Together, they gathered in a secure bunker, where Emma presented her discovery. "This changes everything," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "They're not here to plunder or enslave us. They're here to survive. And if we want to stop them, we need to exploit that desperation." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "If we can convince them that Earth isn't worth the effort, maybe they'll leave voluntarily." "But how?" asked General Marcus Hale, a grizzled military leader who had overseen many of humanity's failed attempts to repel the invaders. "They've already seen what our planet has to offer. They won't just walk away because we tell them it's toxic." Emma smiled faintly. "We don't have to tell them. We show them." Her plan was audacious yet simple. Fabricate evidence suggesting that Earth's environment was far more hostile than it appeared. Using hacked alien communication channels, humanity would broadcast falsified data showing centuries of unchecked pollution, rising radiation levels, and deadly diseases. The goal wasn't to lie outright, but to exaggerate existing issues: smog-filled cities, melting ice caps, and antibiotic-resistant bacteria, to paint a grim picture of life on Earth. To an alien civilization already wary of failure, such reports might be enough to tip the scales in humanity's favor. The team agreed to proceed with the plan, dividing responsibilities among themselves. Emma focused on creating the fake data, drawing from real-world studies while amplifying certain details to make them seem catastrophic. Alex worked on refining his drone designs further, ensuring they could carry both EMP charges and signal boosters capable of transmitting the misinformation directly into alien networks. Meanwhile, civilian resistance groups prepared decoy operations to distract the invaders, keeping their attention divided while the main strategy unfolded. As preparations progressed, the aliens regrouped. Reinforcements poured in from distant corners of space, swelling their ranks to unprecedented levels. Massive motherships joined the fleet, each one bristling with weapons powerful enough to level entire continents. Ground forces received upgrades, to their exosuits, making them even more formidable. It was clear that the invaders intended to launch a final, decisive assault, one that would crush humanity's spirit once and for all. But Emma's plan was ready. On a moonless night, thousands of drones lifted off simultaneously, carrying payloads of misinformation encoded in alien frequencies. As they approached the fleet, alien turrets opened fire, cutting down hundreds of drones instantly. However, the swarm's sheer size overwhelmed the defenses, allowing a significant number to breach the outer layers of the ships. Once inside, the drones released their payloads, flooding alien systems with falsified reports about Earth's toxicity. At the same time, civilian hackers infiltrated alien communication networks, planting viruses designed to amplify the misinformation. False alarms triggered aboard alien vessels, warning crews of airborne pathogens and radioactive hotspots. Pilots hesitated, unsure whether to trust their instruments. Commanders grew suspicious, questioning whether conquering Earth was truly worth the cost. Back on the surface, resistance fighters launched coordinated attacks to keep the invaders occupied. In Johannesburg, a group of engineers rigged abandoned vehicles with explosives, luring alien patrols into ambush zones. In Buenos Aires, civilians used reflective materials to create illusions of massive armies advancing through the streets, forcing enemy forces to divert attention. Even children joined the effort, painting murals depicting diseased landscapes and posting images online to reinforce the fabricated narrative. Slowly but surely, cracks began to form in the invaders' unity. Lower-ranking officers whispered among themselves, expressing doubts about the mission's feasibility. Some suggested retreating to safer planets, arguing that Earth's supposed hazards outweighed its benefits. Higher-ups dismissed these concerns, insisting that victory was still within reach. But the seeds of doubt had been planted, spreading like wildfire through the ranks. The overseer, aware of the growing unrest, called an emergency meeting aboard his flagship. His subordinates exchanged uneasy glances, their thoughts betraying a mix of fear and frustration. "The humans are clever," admitted one officer, his telepathic voice trembling. "They've disrupted our networks and sown confusion among our troops." "They are resourceful," the overseer acknowledged, his tone icy. "But they cannot win. We must press forward." Yet even he couldn't ignore the mounting evidence. Reports flooded in from scouts on the ground, describing strange symptoms among their forces: coughing fits, skin rashes, and unexplained fatigue. Though some of these ailments were likely psychosomatic, fueled by paranoia and misinformation, others hinted at genuine health risks. Combined with the falsified data flooding their systems, the invaders began to question whether Earth was truly habitable. Meanwhile, Emma monitored the situation closely, tracking the impact of her plan in real time. Alien ships that had been advancing steadily now hovered uncertainly, their movements hesitant. Ground forces retreated from certain areas, citing environmental hazards detected by their sensors. Though the invaders hadn't fully abandoned their mission, their resolve was visibly weakening. General Hale, observing the shift from a secure command center, allowed himself a rare smile. "It's working," he muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. "They're starting to doubt themselves." Alex, standing nearby, nodded grimly. "Let's hope it's enough." By the end of the week, the tide had turned decisively. Alien commanders issued orders to consolidate their forces, signaling a shift from offense to defense. Several ships detached from the fleet, disappearing into deep space without explanation. Others remained in orbit, their activities limited to reconnaissance rather than active combat. On the ground, exosuit-clad soldiers withdrew from cities, retreating to fortified positions near landing zones. Humanity seized the opportunity, launching counterattacks to reclaim lost territory. Resistance fighters pushed back against weakened alien forces, reclaiming neighborhoods block by block. Civilians emerged from hiding, rebuilding what they could and caring for the wounded. Though scars remained, both physical and emotional, the sense of hope was palpable. Emma stood outside her observatory once again, watching as the remaining alien ships loomed ominously in the sky. Despite their diminished presence, she knew the threat wasn't entirely gone. The invaders might return, stronger and more determined than before. But for now, humanity had earned a chance to regroup and prepare. As she gazed upward, Emma felt a surge of pride mixed with determination. Humanity had faced an existential crisis and risen to meet it, not through brute force but through ingenuity, adaptability, and resilience. Somewhere out there, the aliens were learning a lesson they would never forget. Provoking humanity came at a steep price, and as dawn broke over the horizon, casting golden light across the battered landscape, Emma whispered softly to herself, "This is why you don't mess with us." The final chapter of humanity's battle against the alien invaders unfolded with a mix of tension and triumph. The aliens, once confident in their superiority, now found themselves questioning every move they made. Their initial arrogance had been shattered by humanity's relentless ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination. What began as an invasion meant to secure Earth as a new home had spiraled into a costly stalemate, one that neither side could afford to prolong indefinitely. The scars of war were everywhere. Cities lay in ruins, their skylines reduced to jagged skeletons of steel and concrete. Streets were littered with debris, and the air carried the acrid smell of smoke and ash. Yet amidst the destruction, there was also resilience. People worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been lost, pooling resources and sharing knowledge to create something stronger than before. In refugee camps scattered across the globe, survivors shared stories of bravery and sacrifice, inspiring others to keep fighting. Humanity had been pushed to its limits, but it had refused to break. In orbit, the remaining alien fleet regrouped for one last desperate assault. The Overseer, furious at the setbacks his forces had endured, issued orders to mobilize every available ship and soldier. "This ends now," he transmitted to his subordinates, his telepathic voice crackling with rage. "We will crush them, completely or die trying." But even as the aliens prepared for their final push, doubt lingered among their ranks. The misinformation campaign orchestrated by Emma Carter had taken root, spreading unease about Earth's viability as a target. Reports of toxic environments, deadly diseases, and unstable ecosystems circulated freely, sowing discord among the invaders. Some officers argued that continuing the invasion would only lead to further losses, while others insisted on pressing forward regardless of the risks. The unity that had once defined their civilization was crumbling under the weight of uncertainty. Meanwhile, Alex Ramirez and his team worked around the clock to prepare for the inevitable showdown. Thousands of drones, each equipped with EMP charges, signal jammers, and decoy payloads, were readied for deployment. Civilians contributed in any way they could, from repairing damaged equipment to fabricating spare parts using 3D printers. Even children pitched in, painting old satellite dishes to serve as radar reflectors designed to confuse alien sensors. Emma remained at the observatory, her eyes glued to her monitors as she tracked the movements of the alien fleet. She knew the coming battle would decide the fate of humanity. If they failed, Earth would fall. But if they succeeded, the invaders might finally retreat, leaving humanity free to rebuild and recover. The final assault began at dawn. Alien ships descended en masse, their hulls glowing ominously as they unleashed devastating beams of energy. Entire neighborhoods were obliterated in seconds, forcing civilians to flee for their lives. Ground forces advanced relentlessly, their exosuits tearing through barricades and defenses like paper. It seemed as though the aliens had thrown everything they had into this attack, determined to overwhelm humanity once and for all. But humanity was ready. As the invaders pressed forward, Alex's drones took flight, swarming toward the alien fleet like a storm of locusts. This time, the drones carried not just EMP charges but also payloads of misinformation designed to amplify the doubts already festering among the invaders. When the swarm reached the ships, chaos erupted. Shields flickered and died, weapon systems malfunctioned, and communication links collapsed. Pilots scrambled to regain control, but without coordination, their efforts were futile. On the ground, resistance fighters launched coordinated counterattacks, targeting weak points in the alien formations. Guerrilla tactics proved especially effective. Small teams of humans ambushed larger groups of invaders, using hit-and-run strategies to whittle down their numbers. In one particularly daring operation, a group of engineers rigged abandoned vehicles with explosives, luring an entire squad of alien soldiers into a trap. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield, buying precious time for civilians to escape. Back in orbit, the aliens struggled to maintain cohesion. Confusion spread rapidly as falsified reports flooded their systems, warning of environmental hazards and biological threats. Commanders bickered over strategy, their disagreements escalating into outright conflict. For the first time, cracks appeared in their hive mind network, disrupting the seamless flow of information that had once guided their actions. The tipping point came when a critical section of the alien flagship suffered catastrophic damage. A swarm of drones breached its outer defenses, targeting vital systems with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions rocked the vessel, sending shards of metal flying into space. Panic spread among the crew as life support systems failed, plunging sections of the ship into darkness. The overseer, realizing the battle was lost, issued a single command: retreat. One by one, the alien ships disengaged from the fight, retreating into the depths of space. Those that remained behind were disabled or destroyed, their crews abandoning ship in hastily launched escape pods. On the ground, exosuit-clad soldiers withdrew from cities, retreating to fortified positions near landing zones. Within hours, the skies cleared, leaving behind a battered but victorious Earth. As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted worldwide. People poured into the streets, cheering and embracing one another. Fireworks lit up the night sky, symbolizing hope after months of despair. Leaders praised the heroes who had made the victory possible: Alex Ramirez for his innovative drone designs, Emma Carter for her groundbreaking insights, and countless ordinary citizens who had risked everything to defend their homes. Yet amidst the jubilation there was also reflection. Humanity had faced an existential crisis and emerged stronger because of it. The war had united nations in ways previously thought impossible, fostering collaboration and innovation on an unprecedented scale. Technologies developed during the conflict paved the way for a brighter future, offering solutions to challenges like climate change and resource scarcity. Monuments were erected to honor those who had fought and fallen, serving as reminders of both the cost of freedom and the strength of the human spirit. For Emma, the aftermath of the war brought a sense of closure. Standing outside her observatory, she gazed up at the stars, marveling at how far humanity had come. The aliens' departure didn't mean the danger was entirely gone. They might return someday, stronger and more determined than ever. But for now, Earth was safe, and humanity had proven itself capable of overcoming even the greatest odds. Somewhere out there, the invaders carried with them a lesson they would never forget. Humanity was not to be underestimated. While other civilizations might crumble under pressure, humans thrived in adversity. Their creativity, resilience, and unwavering determination made them a force unlike any other in the galaxy. As Emma turned to head back inside, she smiled faintly, her heart swelling with pride. Humanity had stared into the abyss and refused to blink. They had faced an enemy vastly superior in technology and firepower, and won. And though the road ahead would be long and difficult, one thing was certain: humans are not to be provoked.